Tittiesntoos.
All right, welcome to another episode of Titties and Twos. I am your host, Alicia, and with me is Monica, our tattoo artist, who's brilliant, by the way. And what I forgot the last time is to also introduce Alex, who is not in any shot at the moment.
Behind the scenes.
Yes, but he is behind the scenes. He's making sure that all of this is happening for us and that we are able to embrace all of this talking, and you can see our faces, tattoos, and everything that we have to offer for you. So just to take from what we started with last week, we started talking about lots of pain.
Yeah.
Lots of pain. And then we started also looking at, placement. So today we thought we were going to carry on a little bit with the placement and, just start looking at, from a tattoo perspective, what we need to focus on. So Monica, over to you.
Yes. I just wanted to continue with that conversation about what to take into account when deciding where to get a tattoo on your body. And I think I might have mentioned last time that it's important to not let the pain of the area you are thinking of, because a lot of people have done a bit of research or asked friends or whatever, and then they ask, where is it more painful, where is it the least painful? And I always try and tell my clients, don't let that decide where you get your tattoo. If you want your first tattoo on apparently a sore area, then just get it there.
Yeah.
It's going to be there forever. The pain is only going to be temporary, so get the tattoo where you want it. And then another thing I thought about discussing is just the fact that sometimes some clients let their friends and families or loved ones sort of help them decide where to get the tattoo and let that influence their decision on where to get the tattoo. And I've seen how that sort of that shouldn't be a factor. Get the tattoo where you want to get it. Don't let anybody else's opinions influence your decision too much. At the end of the day, it is your body, so get it where you want to. And then I think the biggest thing, and I think a lot of tattoo artists will probably agree, is that we get clients, it's usually a problem on the forearm where clients want to get the tattoo facing them. So it's the right way around for them.
Yes.
And I think that's something I just want to sort of educate people on, and just let them know that is actually the wrong way around.
Yes.
I know a lot of people still insist, even though you explain this to them. I was actually one of these people when I got my first tattoo. It was writing on my wrist, and I wanted it to face me because I wanted to read it. It was a very personal tattoo. Anyway, my tattoo artist kept on telling me, like, no, it's the wrong way around. He's not doing it that way around, and he insisted that we switch it around. And I'm actually glad, because obviously that is the right way around. So at the end of the day, the decision is still yours to get it the way that you wanted to get it. But I always look at it as, for instance, a T-shirt. You don't wear the T-shirt so that you can read it. It's so that whoever's looking at you can read it. And the same way with your tattoo. You want the viewer to see it the right way around and not yourself. I think that's just important to take into account. That the right way around is actually upside down to you when you look at it.
Exactly. No, 100%. I mean, if I just look at my own ones, it's important to have it, because in as much as I am looking at it, but when I'm walking, you want somebody to be able to see what it is and not kind of like turn their head and trying to figure out what's going on there. Same as with the sleeve that I've got here.
Yeah.
It would have not had the same effect. I mean, let me just move this down. But I mean, it would not have had the same effect if this was at the top.
Yeah.
For me to be able to see, because here now flows. It's open. It's kind of like open-ended, and it's got its own little story of what it could mean and be and what else is out there.
Yeah.
But if I turned it around, it wouldn't have had the same effect of what was on there.
Yeah. I think the strangest thing I saw once, or the best example of this, was I was just walking in a mall and I saw a couple holding hands, and they both had a matching tattoo of a bird sitting on a branch.
So they became bats.
Yeah, so when they were walking holding hands, and my first thing was just like, oh, it's so cute. They had a matching tattoo. I love matching tattoos. But they were hanging upside down on this branch. And it just looked so strange. So yeah, I think that's just something to take into account. That's if your tattoo artist tells you your tattoo's upside down, then don't get it that way around. Obviously, there are exceptions. I think I told you about that one tattoo a guy got of writing on his leg.
Yes.
I think it's just one of my favorite tattoos.
Yes, I remember that one. Yes.
It said, "Do it scared."
Yes. Yes.
So he got this idea. I hope he doesn't mind me telling the story, but it's a beautiful story. Because he went to go bungee jumping with his friends, and he said he was so scared.
Yeah.
Obviously. And he just kept on telling himself, like, he's already here now. He's just going to do it, even though he's scared.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he decided to get that writing on his leg because he kept on looking at his legs while he was like fighting with himself to go and bungee jump. And so sometimes it does look cool if it's upside down and there is a reason sort of behind it. But usually, especially if it's an image, to get it upside down is a bit strange. I have a client, I think he's one of my first clients. I've tattooed him since I was an apprentice. And he got tattoos upside down on his forearms, figures. And I remember we kept on telling him, like, listen to you, this is weird. Like, it's both female figures and they're upside down. And he just kept on insisting, like, no, he doesn't care. He wants it that way around. And I ended up tattooing it that way around because that's what he wants.
Yes.
But it is strange. And you're going to have to live with people telling you all the time your tattoos are upside down.
Or asking you, why did you do it upside down?
I think a compromise I usually try and convince people to do is to rather get it, especially if it's writing, get it to read this way around so that it's sort of the right way around and you read it like this instead of it being all the way upside down. But that's an important factor to take into account.
But also, does that not link in with the flow of it?
Yeah, that's something I want to mention as well. I think most tattoo artists do this, but I don't know. It takes a while. It takes a lot of experience to sort of figure out how the body moves and how the tattoo then moves with the body. And that's something I think tattoo artists needs to take into account, not necessarily the client, but just to make sure that the tattoo flows nicely on your body, wherever it sits, so that it sits nicely.
No, but I know. I mean, at the times when it was still a point where I would go and stand in front of the mirror for you. Not that I do that anymore now because I just trust you completely. But when I used to, I mean, you would let me look to see if I move this or if I do this, what it would look like. And I know that is something that's quite important that you guys look at to see when I move. What does it show?
Yeah. And if it pulls funny, like if it warps, especially on a body part that has a lot of movement, like the ribs and so on.
Yes.
I'm thinking of portraits. Sometimes people want to get a portrait on the ribs, and that is it's a difficult area.
Yeah.
To get something like a portrait, because if you stretch a little bit, that whole face pulls.
Yes.
And it just looks weird. So, that's definitely something to take into account. I know especially areas on the inner bicep as well. Mm-hmm. You stick the stencil on like this, and then you go like this, then that whole thing twists and warps.
Yes.
So, that's something to take into account, and stick that stencil on 20 times until it's correct.
No, but that is something that I've seen you do. I mean, you've done it with me, just to make sure that you are also happy with how it's placed and the way that it looks at the end of when you are going to now focus on it.
Okay, and I think I'm thinking especially of the forearm, because it's twisting and turning a lot. It is going to move. It is going to move with your body. Your body obviously moves.
Yes.
But just to make sure that if it moves, it still looks nice. I don't know. It's something that the artist has to take into account. It's just to make sure that the tattoo complements your body. Everybody's bodies are different.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. And just to make sure that wherever you put the tattoo on your body, that it looks nice. And complements your shape and your movement.
Okay, but what happens in a case where a client does come they've now not let anybody influence them, they want this tattoo at a specific spot that they want, but when you look at it as an artist, you like, this is either not going to work for this spot or something like that. What do you do in a situation like that?
I always make recommendations. Obviously, I try and do it kindly. I'm not going to be like, no, your ideas, God, but I'd rather do this. But yeah, I use my experience. I normally tell them, like, listen, in the past, I've noticed this doesn't work well. So let's rather try this. What I but yeah, what I also try and do is, I mean, the stencil, you can stick the stencil on a few times.
Yeah.
So I'll try and convince them, let's stick the stencil on where I think it looks nice, and then we work from there. If you don't like it, then we stick it on again.
Yes.
A lot of times people always sometimes come to me and they have like 3 different placement options, and then I also tell them, let's stick them on 3 different places and see what looks the best. Flows the best, yeah. So yeah, I'd definitely try and make a recommendation of what I think would look the best visually. And yeah, I think that's once again coming back to trusting your artist. Your artist is a visual person. They are an artist. They know what looks good.
Yeah.
So yeah, trust them. Obviously, if you don't like it, say so. But yeah, that's where trust in the artist is important. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, if I just think about, for me, with specific ones that I wanted to get, it was very specific to make sure that it is placed where I liked it, but also where I could see how it flows for me on my body and what I wanted to continue doing with it.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it was planned to say, and I think I spoke about that the last time, to say, you know, plan something specific if you want it, wait for it. And I think that's also an important part that we need to look at, is when the artist is busy.
Yeah.
Why you should wait.
Yeah.
You know, but plan for it. Like I said, if you've got a random leg or a random arm and you just want to put different things on it, yes, you don't necessarily plan for the random one, but ultimately you start tying everything in that's there and kind of get it to flow and look nice and show the different artwork and what it's there. But it is important to take advice. I know how many times I've come in and I'm like, no, I want to have it like this. And then I show you this little sign and you're like, no, like this. You know, so I know that you've got something in your mind, or you look at a spot and you're like, oh, you know, that spot will be fine. And then I get to you and you're like, no, that spot's not going to work, you know. So it is important to take that into account.
Most people have an idea of what the look and feel is that they're going for. If you want just a random patchy tattoo sleeve, that's what you want to get. But then it's still important to make sure that each individual tattoo, even though it's supposed to look random, that it looks good on that area of the arm.
Correct.
And that all the little pieces actually works well together. Or if you want a full sleeve, then you plan for that as well. But then the placement's still important, and how big the pieces are on the sleeve. But yeah, I think that's something that the tattoo artist needs to take into account. And that's also something you can look at as a client on a portfolio of a tattoo artist, is to look at how their full sleeves look and how that flows together, and look at how the patchy sleeves that they do, or the different styles that they do, how that works together. And then you can get a sense of, if this artist has a good feel for how the tattoos are placed on the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, considering what I've done to you, is I've had some of your apprentices earlier on, kind of do stuff and practice and all of that on me.
It's amazing.
But you then, with everything else that I wanted to do, my big things that I wanted to add on my random arm, you made sure that it fits in and that it works around that and that it kind of goes with that. And I don't think that's an easy task. Like, genuinely, I don't think that's easy. I think it gets to a point where you most probably look at me and go like, oh... Why?
It does become like a puzzle that you have to solve. Yeah,
very
but
much.
It's fun. It's a visual puzzle.
But that's the other thing for me. Even though in my head I'm going like, you're probably shaking your head and thinking, oh gosh, what is this woman thinking? You never ever at any point go and say like, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You look at it and you're like, ooh, okay, wait, let's see what we can do, and you always try and find a way of how it can work. And for me, that's probably why I am going to be filled up one day, because there's not going to be a spot open, because you're going to help me figure out how we can make it work,
I think that's one of the fun things about tattoo artists, or being a tattoo artist, is just solving all these little problems, because clients come to you with a specific brief, and then you have to make a tattoo work within all of that guidelines that you have to follow. But yeah, that's very exciting. I really enjoy doing that. So yeah, I think a good artist will enjoy any project or any challenge. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I think one of the things that we are going to be looking at is obviously also sizing, and then also looking at consultations
Yes.
and why that is important.
Yes.
These are things from a first timer, and even from being a person that's got a lot of tattoos. You know, if you maybe go to a new tattoo artist, or even if it's with the same tattoo artist, there's a certain trust that you do build with somebody that if you've been going to them for a few years. But if it's new, what it is that you need to look at when you go for a consultation, and why it's important to have a consultation.
Yes.
And not just kind of go like, let's open the book, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, this one, and there we go.
Yeah.
You know, why it's important to make sure we look at all of that.
Yes.
So I think that will be our next discussion that we're going to have, and that we can look at all the different sizing options. It's always better bigger.
Bigger is always better.
That is what I've learned. But, you know, and looking at the different things and the placements, then obviously including with that sizing what the placement means then.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be our next point of focus. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you with the next one. Please leave us comments and give us some things that we can look at, whether it's questions or comments or stories. Please feel free to add that for us. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Titties and twos.